Hello, and today we'll continue with Hearthfire. Well, there's a lot more snow here than I remembered last. The town must have been hit hard by the storm. Looks like it still hasn't been cleaned up yet. Several layers, coating the slanted roofs like ice on a cake. We're close to Iska this time, still out of sight from the main streets, however. We probably should have been there a few hours ago. The man emphatically shrugged as he got off of the snowmobile, suspension swaying as it creaked. He was supposed to wake me up. He suddenly spurred, shrugging those shoulders once more as he pocketed his keys. "You are a heavy sleeper." I would have set an alarm, but my phone's out of power. I grumbled, kicking at some loose snow, causing the powdered stuff to puff in the air. "You are not being angry. If he wants me to visit so badly, he will not mind. I guess he's a little unorthodox. Most doctors would get upset if you were even 15 minutes late back home." Right at the back of my head, rusted with golden locks. I forget about having the cancer. They charge you money for a cancellation fee if you did it too late. This seems obsessive. Do you often have issues with health? No, thank goodness. I said with a sharp exhale, shaking my head. I guess I've been lucky because of your health. Well, that and it was a point of contention with Devil. He simultaneously envied and was fiercely jealous of my upbringing. I know he wanted what I had, but it wasn't all roses and rainbows. Money doesn't buy happiness, and my family was a walking example of that phrase. My parents would pay for just about everything. He seemed confused, the bear scratching into his scruffy beard with a dense desert. "This is a problem. Medical treatment is not expensive." Oh dear. I had nearly forgotten I had hopped the border. Now I have a confused bear that's probably never paid more than triple digits for his clinic trips. Certain things are a lot more expensive back where I'm from. My words tumbled out of me awkwardly as I played with my hands. The pair of us already started to head into town. There's ups and downs like everywhere, but access to healthcare is a bit expensive. The word left my lips uncomfortably, like someone fumbling their fingers on piano keys. This does not sound like a good system. The backs of our hands brushed, sending a tingle up my spine, distracting me momentarily from the somewhat physiological conversation. It's really not. Then why haven't? This does not make sense. It makes me wonder if this was pressing a particular button, a disgruntled tone manifesting in his voice. After all, he did say his mother died from a lack of medical care. I don't make the rules, Tarek. It's been that way since before I was born. I want things to change, but I'm not sure. He blew a sharp, disapproving snort of an exhale through his densely padded nostrils. Perhaps it would be better if you stay. I know he was trying to say, but part of me was tickled at the idea he wanted me to stay with him. I could already feel my cheeks starting to flush as I coughed under my breath. I could even, if I wanted to, sooner or later I'd get in trouble. Immigration stuff, those got caught in my throat, and I wanted to admit it. I kind of slipped past the border. He slowed his pace, giving me a critical look. I think I found a side road, I don't know. I was following the directions of my phone. I laughed awkwardly as I rubbed the back of my neck, fingers dipping behind the collar of my jacket. I don't even have a passport, to be honest. You plan to drive you even further. He looked at me skeptically, his boots crunching through the snow as he plowed a path with sheer girth. Yeah, all the way to Anchorage. It was already a stupid idea in my head, but to hear myself say it out loud was, well, it was enough to make me sink into my jacket. Even without the storm, it would be dangerous. Your vehicle did not seem. He paused, bulky jawline shifting as he looked for the word. Adequate. What he was saying was true. I barely did any research on northern driving, let alone prepare for it. Which, now that I stopped and thought about it, was incredibly stupid. Then again, I wasn't exactly thinking when I packed my bags and drove on. My cheeks flushed with embarrassment as I tucked my hands into my pockets. An awkward silence hung in the air as we walked, trotting along an unshoveled sidewalk. Thankfully, a distraction lay ahead to take my mind off of irresponsible antics. Down the street was the resident doctor, his hands gripped tightly around a snow shovel. He was straining, hefting a heavy amount of compacted snow away from the front of the building. It seemed like we were just in time to witness an unfortunate event. Some of the snow on the roof broke loose, sliding anonymously down the slanted surface. Smatterings of the powdered stuff rained down on Philip's head, causing the snow level to peak up curiously. Before he could even make a sound, the majority came down on him. The sea of snow tipped over the edge, raining over the flailing cat. Tarmac was already outpacing me, trudging through the snow towards the wayward doctor. Philip busily tried to unbury himself from the miniature avalanche, a difficult task considering just how much had been dumped onto him. The cat's eyes widened, letting out a noise of surprise as his shovel was pried none too gently from his hands. Picking up on where he left off, Tarmac dove the end of it into the snow, flinging the frozen stuff over his shoulder as if he was a living scavenger. Oh, well, this is a surprise. He said with an awkward laugh, stepping aside to let the bear take over his work. Not that he was given much choice. I certainly didn't expect help for the snow, let alone for my favorite client to show up. He took a side seat along with me, watching as the bear went to work without question, flinging snow into the nearby bank. Tarmac dug out the front sidewalk like he was a machine mammoth, arms flexing and bulging under his coat sleeves. Honestly, I couldn't tell if he was doing it as a good Samaritan or simply because the extra snow clutter was bothering him. He was pretty fastidious about keeping his cabin clean, so I suppose it wasn't a surprise. Every morning he would go out there and shovel snow without fail. His work ethic almost made me a little envious. Almost. It is finished. He grunted as the metal edge of the shovel clanged against the hard sidewalk below. The handle gripped tightly in Tarmac's oversized mitten. Well, I appreciate the insistence. I only did it so we can finish our appointment. Philip didn't seem fazed. In fact, he looked amused as his fluffy tail swished behind him with a flick. Of course it was. His tone was polite, titillating and overly kind with a sanitized smile formed over his muzzle. Examine Chris first. As the man came out of the blue, blindsiding both me and the cat next to me. Pardon me. He fell. There may be injuries. His crimson eyes drifted in surprise as he gave me a concerned look over. This doesn't happen. The doctor closed his eyes, giving his head a quick shake. Let's move out of the cold first, shall we? He gestured for me to follow, the three of us moving into his clinic. First, I must ask, how are you feeling? His question, while professionally polite, sounded concerned as he looked me over. Fine, I think. Tarmac came in behind us, kicking the snow off his boots before lumbering through the door. Any pain or swelling, disorientation, headaches? He thumbed at his chin, looking me over critically, making me feel awkward in my own fur. No, I'm fine, really. I waved my hands disarmingly, not that the doctor seemed convinced. Well, I'm glad you're not in pain. I'm afraid I'm still going to have to run a few tests on you, just to be sure. He let out a low rumble in his throat as he waved me back along with him to the examination room. This way, please. It was just like I remembered, the room still smelling like hand sanitizer, window cleaner. He turned back to me, stopping just short of his countertop, his rear resting against it. How far did you fall? I don't know. There was a lot of snow. I got caught by the wind and fell off a ledge. I fell to a few pine trees before I hit the ground and passed out. I made it awkwardly, rubbing at my arm as I tried to avoid the feline's intense gaze. Where did you fall? The tone was suspicious, its edge making me hunger in my jacket as I fumbled for an answer. The mountain peak nearby, Tuxedo. I was amazed I remembered the name. It must have been burned into my brain after all that trauma. Philip pulled in a short breath, a pair of padded fingers running between my eyes. Mr. Smith, you made me regret suggesting traveling there. The cat exhaled, long and deflated, the snow leopard leaning back against the countertop. I didn't put stitches in your head just for you to risk yourself. His tone was stern, like a father disappointed in the rash behavior of his son. It made my stomach sink, his fingers squeezing into my other arm, gripping into my fabric of my jacket. Thankfully, you still seem to be in one piece. Phil's expression slightly, a worn-out smile forming across his muzzle. At least allow me to look you over. I nodded, slipping my jacket off, tossing it onto the nearby hook. Shortly after, the comrade came in, the big bear turning to the side to fit his bow through the doorframe. He stood close behind me, a hand gently grazing my lower back as his dense knuckles brushed above my tail. It was a small gesture, but an intimate one that Philip wouldn't easily spot. My servant went off as well, the doctor taking a pen light off of the nearby drawer. He turned it on with a click, his fingers busting through my fur as it checked me over. His touch was cold, a small shiver going up my spine. A soft murmur came from Philip, his muzzle squeezing into a frown. Mild bruising, but no fractures as far as I could tell. Does it hurt when I do this? Ow! I put my tail away from him, cradling it defensively as I sought the leopard offended look. He smiled sympathetically, holding his hands up disarmingly. Man, the good news is it doesn't seem broken. It seems like you produced another miracle, Mr. Smith. Not only have you defied death once but twice, but please don't make a habit. As much as you want to go home, performing death-defying stunts won't aid you. Yeah, I wasn't able to get a full sender up at the top. The only thing I managed to receive were a few texts. Nothing would go out. There's nothing wrong with being patient, Mr. Smith. Perhaps it would be better to wait things out. Leopard's eyes drifted drastically, crimson orbs suddenly sliding. A small smile formed, the subtles were coalescing over his muscle. I'm glad to see that both of you are getting better. I'm glad to see that both of you are getting along better. Comrade jumped, realizing what he was referencing, his large hands shooting away from the small of his back where it had resumed resting. Wait. The bear was at a loss of words. His cheeks already started to subtly glow, knowing full well that he had been called out. We had spent time together. His voice was unsteady as he spoke, trying to and failing to be subtle. It only caused Philip's smile to widen. Clearly. But I won't pry further. I can tell that you both value your privacy. He turned back to me, gesturing to the nearby exam table. Now, Mr. Smith, I'm sure you're already well acquainted with my x-ray machine. Do we really need to? I'm just a little sore. Can't have you walking out of my clinic without one. I wouldn't be a very good medical professor if I didn't. He had me there. Guess there wasn't much arguing against it. Without much protest, I hopped up onto the co-examination bed, stressing out as the machine hummed to life. Things seemed to go faster this time, either that or I was used to it after the first time. The feline clicked at his laptop, humming to himself even as I set my jacket back on. At least the tool he was using was upbeat. I could only imagine that meant good things for me. Well, it seems silence proves that you're still in one piece. He gave me a glance with those crimson eyes, leaning over the back of his chair to look at me. Try to keep it that way, Tom stiffened as those inquisitive eyes landed on him, already knowing what was coming next. Now, if you don't mind, I have another conveniently timed appointment I must attend to. Big Bear sort of slumped as he let out a defeated sigh. Very well, if I must. I'm not surprised Tom turned to me next, a large hand sliding over my shoulder. Chris, yeah? Can I trust you with a task? Mears instantly sat up, eyes going wide at the prospect of returning a favor from my savior. Sure, anything. I wasn't sure what I was walking into, but I imagined that Tomac wouldn't thrust something too far-fetched for me to handle. Do you remember the trade shop? Yeah? My mind's eye instantly filled with the visions of the energetic links that owned it. I could still remember how she held me in the air like I was a toddler. I also remember how close those wiring belt fans were when she did. Cringing sank slightly into my shirt, the collar of my jacket pushing up either side of my head. Distracting me from my inner thoughts, I saw Tom reaching into his back pocket of the bear to produce a wrinkled, folded piece of paper. Shoulders of her. The bear jammed a hand back into his pocket before producing what looked like a wad of bills, holding them out in my direction. So I understand. I wasn't exactly familiar with Canadian currency, but he didn't even bother to count the bills before handing them to me. Do not worry, you will be fine. He flashed me a warm smile that managed to thaw my apprehensions. His big paw squeezed reassuringly around my shoulder, and sure enough, I found myself nuzzling into his fingers of reflex. Not trying to avoid an encounter, are you? Philip's voice caught both of our attention. Thomas' hand pulled from my shoulder, one of his dense brows lifting in response. It'll be disappointing to know that you use your appointment as cover to avoid a visit with our favorite feline. I saw self-appointed purr past his lips as he put a hand on his chest. Besides myself, Thomas grumbled under his breath, a consonant sound as he crossed his arms over his broad chest. It is an effective use of time. If you say so, I'm not one to question the motives of my clients, so suppose out that I won't hold it against you. And a mute snicker tilted out of him. This way, please. He was already waving the big barrel over to the examination bed and creaked under his weight dangerously, the supports underneath visibly quivering from his weight. Give Hallie my regards, won't you? Sure. Should I get something for you as well? The request coming out of my mouth without thought, Philip seemingly taken aback by my knee-jerk request. As thoughtful as that is, I'm afraid I have everything I need for now. Thankfully, we've had warning of the snow that's kept us isolated. I'm not quite sure what things would be like if we didn't have time to prepare. A short pop of a laugh came out of me as I fiddled with my hair. Yeah, kind of wish I would have known about that before driving up. Well, here's your safe return home, yes? What a strange waves Tom had given me one last reassuring smile before I slipped through the windows and out into the snow. The soft stuff crunched under my boots as I walked away from the clinic. It was impressive how much snow Tom had managed to move in such a short span. A massive pile of it ran along the walls of the clinic. As nice as it was, it only lasted a few moments, my pace eventually thrusting me onto snow-coated sidewalk. It seemed the rest of the townspeople didn't take shoveling as seriously as a good doctor. Not that I could really blame him. With snow blowing in every other day, I probably wouldn't bother either. Just enough to be able to get in and out. Thankfully, the trade shop wasn't that far from the clinic. Come to think of it, so was Yuka's bakery. I guess it was easy to see why those three would be friends. I was distracted with my thoughts that I crashed face first into something decidedly solid. Ow. I grabbed the end of my nose, the padded end pulsating with pain as I stumbled back on my feet. It turned out that I didn't crash into a wall, even though it wasn't that far off. A broad back turned, revealing another polar bear. He was tall, only a little smaller than Tarek himself. It wasn't much of a surprise considering his species, but watch where you're going. His voice was gravely coming out of him like a growl as he spoke. Sorry, I didn't see you. He let out a dismissive grunt, seeming more apathetic than angry. It wasn't until he looked me over that I felt my breath itch. Ice blue eyes glared down at me, the physical color of those irises making it seem like they were piercing my soul. I have not seen you before. The corners of his mouth, pressed into a frown, the oversized watching me down his nose. Why are you here? His tone was like that of a scolding father, one that I was intimately familiar with. I could feel my tail curling between my legs, the tail looping around my chin. My words failed me. The longer he stared, the less coherent my thoughts became. I felt like someone was standing on my chest, my breath coming out in short, labored puffs. His gray mane like hair fur billowed in the wind as he watched me intently for an answer. Sadly, he was leaning his intimidating bulk on an old, gnarled wooden cane. An otter. He closed his eyes, shaking his head to clear his thoughts. You may call me Quack. I would have said something along the lines of nice to meet you if I could draw enough breath to form the words. Are you looking for the trade shop? Tilting my head around the imposing figure, I realized that I had stopped just short of my destination. He let out a dismissive grunt, seeming unimpressed with my confused daze, already making a move to step around me. You should learn to be more observant. His coat whipped behind him as he strode past, a surprisingly strong gait for someone using a cane. An otter like yourself could freeze in the cold. At least he wasn't staring at me anymore. The weight finally came off of my chest as I took a deep, steadying breath. Jeez. Here I thought Tara could be intimidating. I took a shoulder from my shoulders and I pushed my way into the shop, trying to clear my mind of the strange encounter. Huh? There was nobody in sight. In fact, the entire place looked a little empty. Hello? I called out, covering the side of my muzzle with a hand. The only sound was a faint echo of my own voice. Guess he's not here? Strange to leave your door unlocked like that. My ears twitched, picking up on the faintest of sounds. Clanking. Sure enough, I could hear the sound of clanking metal coming from somewhere deeper inside. My feet shuffled over the old wood. Quickly, finding myself drawn to a nearby door. Pushing it open, revealed a stairway, the sounds growing more prominent now that they weren't muffled by the wooden slam. Curiosity got the better of me as I trotted down the stairs, careful not to slip over the edges with my snow-melted slick boots. And Jim? Now that I remember, Tara did say something about her having one. It was a nice one, too. White spaces, mirror walls, plenty of weights and treadmills. There were even a few of those bouncy balls in the corners. Were they bouncy balls, exercise balls, right? I just know that they were a lot of fun when I was a kid. Not that I was using them properly at that age. Well, fine, except that time I got a busted nose at the YMCA when I was with my mom. I wriggled out the end of my snout separately, tingling as I recalled the memory. The egg engines were never my forte, better left for people like Daryl, to be honest. My lower jaw shifted at the thought of the line, but I pushed it down. The sound of an annoyed voice caught my attention just as I was about to round the corner, my pace slowed. Why do I have to do this? It was forced, obviously strained. Yuka was standing under a squat whack, his face red, cheeks bulging. Next to him was Hallie, the lynx's wide grin stretched to the point of splitting her muzzle. Because it's the only way you're going to tone those glutes. Besides, you're the one who asked me to help you. You could hiss out something unintelligible, the wolf struggling to lift the weight pressed over his back. She sighed, her everlasting smile seeming to wane slightly. I told you that you need to come here more often if you want to keep him safe. Blech. The sound slipped out of Yuka like a burp, the wolf struggling to keep himself righted, listening dangerously to one side. A reflexive laugh slipped out of me while I managed to stop a second too late, my hand clamping over the end of my snout. What? Hallie's head turned towards me and just had the wrong time too. I missed the spectacle of Yuka tilting all the way over backwards, the bar suddenly slipping off his shoulders. It landed on the guard sticking out of the rack with a clatter. The metal bar bounced and bent dangerously, the plaits bobbing up and down with enough force to break bones. The wolf himself landed on his ass, catching his tail underneath it with a sharp yelp. Put aside. She was already on me in her blood, the lynx only inches away before those burly arms suddenly wrapped around me like a spring trap. It appears the doctor's warnings meant nothing in the face of the insoluble feline. She collapsed around me like an avalanche, biceps pinning my arms to my sides as I found myself being removed from the floor's comforting embrace. A squeak or two of pain actually got her to release me, her hands shooting up in the air, eyes going wide. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I squeeze you too hard? Luckily, I had only ascended a few inches, thudding back to the floor as I wobbled slightly. It's fine, just a little bit of bruising. Whatever you want, I got a few home cures we can try. She flashed a white, almost diva smile. I could be a pretty mean massage. Trust me, you'll love being under my hands. I got a set of oils we can use in. She seemed to fly off into her own little world, getting excited over something that will probably end up with me being more pretzel safe than I started. I cleared my throat, trying to create an opening in a one-sided conversation. I took a tumble. Even with my extremely condensed summary, I could still see the concern flash in my eyes, replacing the usual brimming excitement. I don't think a massage would be a good idea. You fail again? He had gotten up from his heap, the wolf generally clutching at his tail as he hissed under his breath. Do you enjoy hurting yourself or something? Finally, considering how you just ate shit. Wasn't usually combative, but somehow this guy's attitude brought it out of me. Maybe it was my paces running thin after everything I had been through. Wolf across the room looked soft, his ears having flipped back. It cleared away Quickly enough, a slight smirk forming across his muzzle. Oh, so the otter has claws, huh? Didn't expect that. Yeah, I thought you was just some weirdo who, ow. He was interrupted, Hallie having reached over to give his shoulder a punch. Even though it was a gentle one, there was still some heft behind it. The wolf bounced on one foot as he let out a yowl, threatening to topple back over and onto the floor again. You're supposed to be helping me, not dislocating my arm. He snapped, huffing indignantly as he tentatively rubbed at his shoulders. You shouldn't be doing a good job doing that without my help. I don't even want to be here in the first place. He could grumble, throwing his hands up in the air in exasperation. Hallie's smile slid into a subtle smirk, eyes litting as she scrutinized the belligerent canine. Should I tell your boyfriend that you don't want my help anymore? Yuka instantly froze, his indignant look sliding off of his face, eyes widening. His gaze locked with mine, a problem of fear reflected in them, the look of someone who just had a dirty secret thrown out into the open. Wait, boyfriend? Puzzle pieces clicked together in my mind as I thought about what I had witnessed. A prickly wolf who seems to abhor the company of everyone except Philip, and then came out as a mother on eternal musings, accidentally flipping inside out. Eagle grew indignant, his fur puffing up as he growled under his breath. Who told you? His incoming rant was interrupted by a spat of giggling from Hallie, the feline trying to stifle it with a hand in front of her muzzle. It's not as if it's a secret. Honestly, anyone with eyes could see that the two of you are dating. That doesn't mean you get to go selling it. He's the one who said it, not me. Wolf looked like he was about to pop, the insides of his ears having turned a bright shade of red. He sputtered, word-like sounds tumbling out of him before he was finally silenced by the larger lynx. Come on now, you still got the rest of your set to finish. That is, if you didn't break your tail. Her eyes lit a smug smirk pulling across her snout. If you did, you can always go see your boyfriend. I'm fine. He snapped, face twisting as he regarded the ladies with disgust. Just wanted to get this over with. According to Skip that day, he must have picked up on my heavily slathered sarcasm because his face only screwed up further. Fuck you. I held my hands up defensively, yet unable to wipe the shit-eating smirk I knew was on my face. It was nice getting a little bit of revenge from when we first met. It may get it under his skin oddly satisfying. The wolf was already moving back to the squat rack, adjusting himself under it once more before getting back to work. Even though I dug into him, I had to admit he was doing better than I ever could. I would probably crap out after only a few squats, knees wobbling before collapsing to the floor. Don't mind him, he's just upset. I'm not upset. He grunted out between his teeth, struggling with the weight as he wobbled slightly. His video game console died. He was trying to get a replacement from me. It might be good, but I'm not a miracle worker, Stormer, no. I still have trouble getting him that Game Station 5. It shouldn't be on back order anymore. He barked from the corner of the room, finally racking the weight back in a way that wouldn't send him toppling over again. That doesn't mean I can get it with all the snow in the way, hun. Honestly, if that were the case, I'd pack Chris into a box and send him back home. Man instinctively reached back behind my head, sifting through my hair as I let out a strange laugh. I'm not sure I survived sipping and handling. I don't know. I got a few spacey boxes, some ear holes, and a few blankets. She mused aloud, twiddling some of her long locks around a figure watching me with eyes I didn't exactly trust. So what brings you by, anyway? Those new boots of yours working out well? Yeah, they really saved my bacon, huh? Oh, really? That's how I can I end up scaling to Seda to try and find some cell signal. She put a hand on her chest, eyes widening. Wait, that's why you needed new boots? Told you he was suicidal. You could pop the top of a water bottle, flipping the end out before giving a hearty spray into his open mouth. Bet that tumble was right down the side of the mountain, wasn't it? Louis scoffed as he looked me up and down. How are you even still alive? Are you made out of the web or something? He snickered under his breath, canines poking out as he smirked. If you want to get home that badly, maybe we ought to shoot you out of a cannon or something. We could always use you as a test dummy first. You could choke on his water cough as he doubled over. An uncontrolled giggle bubbled up out of me, the display so ridiculous that I couldn't help myself. So what can I do for you? I'm playing the conversation being twisted back to the lengths as he smiled at me. As much as I like to think I have a magnetic personality, I'm sure you're not here just for conversation. Need something? The distracting spectacle had me forgetting about Thomas no. Digging into my backpack, I produced a crumpled seed. Callie took it from me, humming under her breath as he carefully unfolded it. Her eyes zipped back and forth. Must have been a short no, only taking a second to finish. Though it seemed that whatever in the request had left her a little baffled, her lips steady as she regarded the wrinkled paper. Now, I'm usually a reasonable gal, but I'm afraid I just can't hand over a valuable commodity like that. Commodity? Gasoline. Boss man has us a little bit of a lockdown. Gasoline. What would he want with that? Maybe to fill his snowmobile back up? We have been driving it around a lot, so it would make sense. Plus, he did have that generator one, so maybe it wasn't too absurd of a request. Tell you what, I have a few gallons I can spare. That's to keep these tamped down for now. You have his payment with you? I can only assume that he sent you all this way. When the wad of bills I was entrusted with, I pulled them out of my pocket, handing them over to the eager ladies. Her eyes furrowed as she took the collection of cash, thumbing through it before sighing. She closed her eyes, shaking her head slowly. This is not even close enough. Almost in web-press inducing turn advanced, her eyes popped back open as a mischievous smile formed over her muzzle. But that's okay, because it looks like he's going to owe me a favor now. Her tone was terrifyingly excited as I find myself scrambling for some sort of distraction. Could we just siphon some of the gas from my car's tank? It's not like it's going to be useful out there anyway, right? She paused until the grin on her face slipping to something less anxiety-inducing. An interesting idea. I exhaled in relief, tension stacking from my shoulders. If your fuel tank didn't rupture when you crashed, of course. Otherwise, it would be hard collecting all that fuel out of the snow. She said with a playful giggle, one that didn't exactly put me at ease. Most cars have anti-siphon filters, but seeing as you don't need it anymore, we can just drill a hole in the bottom of the tank. With a side guess. Maybe. I'll see what I can do. That is, you don't mind if I peek and poke around, do you? Peek around. Oh, check for salvageable parts, that sort of thing. Salvageable, you mean like car parts? You're a mechanic too? I'm a little bit of everything, really. It comes with the trade. Besides, who do you think services that snowmobile hills? Is it Tarmac? Answer, voice stammering in uncertainty. Shit, no. You wouldn't know a spark plug from an air filter. Well, even I know the difference between those, and I like to think I'm fairly automotive illiterate. But I guess you can have it. It's just a wreck out there anyway, completely total. I don't think a tow truck is going to make it all the way down to where it's stuck, though. Well, if you're willing to let me pick it over for parts, I suppose I don't have to hold our favorite bear hostage. Hostage? What favor? What? Do you think I was going to tie him up? You won't surprise me. Yuka spoke up, his voice flat as he reminded us of his presence. The wolf was finishing up, whipping his face and threw us down with a towel before looping it around his neck. "You've helped me over a barrel for less." "Oh, come on. It wasn't that bad. You're lucky I'm willing to part with favors alongside money." She bumped him with a pointed elbow, causing the canine to stumble slightly. "Besides, with business not doing so hot, you could use all the favors you could get. You really have to spill all my secrets in front of the otter?" "No, but I could let a few more slip if you like. I think I'm starting to hate you." "Love you too." He let out a wince, sounding like he was about to gag as he waved the feline away from him. Hallie couldn't help but giggle, like a gremlin, as she turned back to me. He's always like this, so easily irritated. He could look like he was about to answer the sheets, inflating just in time for his mouth to clamp shut. He said he altered the glare as he grabbed his water bottle from the nearby table and guzzled the contents aggressively. It's probably all the coffee. He would spat the end of the bottle out of his mouth, a small spray of water going along with it. Just because I'm a barista doesn't mean that I drink all my stuff. He huffed indignantly, crossed his arms over his chest. That's like assuming a bartender is an alcoholic. As interesting as this conversation was, I'm not sure I like the parallels between alcoholism and coffee consumption. But personally, coffee isn't all that enticing. I prefer a hot cup of tea. At least when soda my crowd. Any other cheap shots you want to take at me today? Your crawlers are to die for. Let out a snort of an exhale, the wolf begrudgingly taking the compliment, cross-arm separately loosening. Fine, as long as you like something. Unlike you, I can't just decide to sell whatever people want. It's called having a skill set. Oh, spicy today. Too bad you're not as sugar sweet as your pastries. The cinnamon roll I had was really good. I like the lemon you added to the vanilla icing. You could scout soon to melt, his ears flicking back up as he regarded me. You liked it? Yeah, it was great. Did you use your own recipe? Yeah, I had to experiment to get it right. He let out a terse sigh. It's hard to get things right. People around here don't have much taste. Oof. Instead of your own customers, sound business choice. Then again, with a personality like his, it's surprised people don't just turn around after walking into the door. I thought maybe I caught him when he was cranky when I first met him, but it seems like he's always like this. The sound of heavy footsteps caught my attention. The stairs at the other end of the basement creaking loudly. There was only one person I knew who could straighten steps like that. Tony's head poked out around the corner, sweeping left and right before spotting me. A smile pulled across his muzzle, along with what looked like a small amount of relief. There you are. Nearby, Yuka froze at the sight of the rumbling timbre of Thomas' voice, his bottle of water squeezed tight in his hand. I thought that maybe you had left. I'm glad to see you do not. He continued to smile, even as he slid a padded hand over my shoulder, giving it a gentle squeeze. Are you ready to leave? His attention drifted off of me, head tilting to spot not only the list nearby, but the occupant in the back as well. You could look like he was attempting to blend into the gray wall behind him, the canine fidgeting nervously. There was a long pause as the two made eye contact, long enough that it kept me on edge with what might happen next. You could look terrified, meanwhile Thomas' expression remained completely blank, save for his eyes. They burned with an intensity I had never seen before, smoldering, raised directly at the wolf across the room. It was enough to make me feel uneasy as I shrank back into my coat. Tarek, do not speak my name. Tarek's response came out as quick as a whip crack. It had a frigid edge to it that made a shiver crawl up my spine. Even Hallie balked, her usual smile faltering. Yuka was taken the most aback by the sound. He staggered a step as his rear bumped into the nearby squat rack, causing it to rattle and shake. It was as if the bear had brought the frozen tundra along with him, in all conversation effectively put on ice. The one and only time I saw him this angry was when I first mentioned his self-imposed exile. Despite this, it seemed the flames of Yuka's defiant spirit still somehow managed to flicker in the altered wind. What, do you want me to apologize? He huffed, trying to make himself look bigger as he crossed his arms over his chest and stood taller. Because honestly, you should be apologizing to me. Torak had stepped past me, closing the gap between him and the wolf with terrifying speed for his size. His large hand grappled the front of Yuka's shirt, the wolf letting out a sharp gasp of surprise as he was yanked forward. Torak's breath blew over the wolf's muzzle, disturbing its short brown fur. Do not speak to me of forgiveness. His voice was a low, warning growl, barely audible. You left me behind, he muttered in return, his jaw grit as he returned the bear's intense gaze. It was subtle, but I could see the glistening of tears on the corners of his eyes, illuminated by the harsh, buzzing, fluorescent lights above. Was he scared? Was he genuinely upset with the bear? I wasn't quite sure. Hallie had already stepped between the two, used her large body like a shield for the smaller wolf. Now that's enough. The voice of reason finally spoke, with enough of a warning ears to make Torak back off. We're all friends here, aren't we? Neither male deigned to answer. Rather than looking away, frustration and even the same play across their faces, Torak grunted, taking a step back. The tension in the air finally started to loosen. Do you have my order? Only if you promise not to intimidate my other customers. It seemed Hallie was capable of being serious after all. There was a moment of defiance from the bear, Torak's muzzle rippling before smoothing back out. Phew. There was a moment of defiance from the bear, Torak's muzzle rippling before smoothing back out. Very well. Hallie smiled, a hair terse, but it was still genuine. Good. Why don't we go upstairs? I can get a few cans filled for you. Placated, I think. You're not going to intimidate me. No, you're not intimidating me. You're not intimidating me.
Play.
There was a moment of defiance from the bear on Torak's muzzle, rippling before smoothing back out. Very well. Hallie smiled, a hair terse, but it was still genuine. Good. Why don't we go upstairs? I can get a few cans filled for you. Placated, Torak followed the lengths of the stairs. It wasn't until the thumping disappeared that I finally glanced at Yuka. The wolf looked shell-shocked, ears further back. He held his forearm squeezing at it, nails digging into fur. What? He asked sharply, having finally picked up on my staring. I wasn't sure how to answer him. I had only seen Tyra this angry once before, and it was a terrifying sight. But like a flash in the pan, it was gone in an instant. "He's going to make fun of me or something." I could tell what he was saying was coming from a place of hurt. I could hear it in his voice. He said simply, his jawline tightly clenched. "Go ahead. Get out of your system then." Despite sassing him earlier, I couldn't bring myself to feel animosity towards the deflated wolf. Or not. My response seemed to confuse him, or at the very least, he didn't expect it. He pointed ears lower as he stuffed his hands in his pockets. "Sorry. An apology? Now that was a surprise. It's fine. I don't really know what's going on between you two, but it's not that bad, right?" The wolf seemed reluctant to answer, letting me hang in silence for what felt like several seconds on end. "Yeah. It's old shit." He led to the door, as if checking to see if someone besides myself was listening. "I fucked up, but you don't need to hear about that from me. I got enough problems in my life right now. The last thing I need is old shit coming back to haunt me." "What do you mean?" He was already passing me by, snatched at a duffel bag before heading for the stairs. Stopping at the first step, he turned his head over his shoulders to look at me. "Ask your bear. Stop bothering me." And then he was gone, brown and tan fur tail vanishing around the corner. The silence was oppressive. The buzz of the fluorescent light was the only thing preventing ear-rigging silence. My stomach churned as I thought about what I had witnessed. I had never known Tomek to be violent before. His reaction to Yuka was something I never would have expected. Maybe it was just a short reminder that I don't know this bear as well as I think I do. Despite feeling otherwise, we've only spent a short amount of time together. Even shorter when you count that he only just opened up to me. Why do things have to be so complicated? It seemed that even this far out in remote nowhere, society's problems continue to follow. Maybe that's one reason why Tarek avoided contact with others. I could start to see the appeal. Seeing as there was nothing left for me in the gym, I headed upstairs. Seeing that even this far out in no...
Really?
It seemed that even this far out in remote nowhere, society's problems continue to follow. Maybe that's one reason why Tarek avoided contact with others. I could start to see the appeal. Seeing as there was nothing left for me in the gym, I headed upstairs. The cool air was more refreshing than I would have originally thought. Either the basement gym was fairly warm or my jacket was great at keeping in the heat. Movement at the end of the street caught my attention. At first I thought it might have been Tarek, but the figure was far too slender to match his description. White fur but red eyes. Sure enough, it was a doctor. He let out a breath, stopping just short of me, his hands on his knees as he took a moment. "Phew, goodness," he said with a winning laugh, slowly straightening himself out along with his lab coat. I nearly forgot to tell you. Tell me what? You'll need to come out tomorrow or the day after to have your stitches removed. Right either day, or doctors usually strict about scheduling? The white fur cat laughed again now that he had caught the last of his breath. Well, as you can imagine, with being this far out, our schedule isn't completely booked. But you're the only doctor in town, right? Indeed, however, the population is fairly small. Thankfully, most of Iskut's people are self-reliant when it comes to first aid. they only usually come to me for the more. He paused their line, sifting back and forth as he searched for the words. Complicated procedures. That in the snow hasn't really been friendly. Having to dig out of your home several times a week isn't going to make people more receptive to a doctor's visit. At least he had a body to handle it. There was no small amount of muscle under the doctor's jacket. I doubt I'd get halfway done clearing the sidewalk around his clinic before having to call it quits. To be honest, I'm a little jealous that everyone here seems to be varying degrees of physically fit. I could hear the sound of Thomas' snowmobile starting up in the distance, my ear perking. It seemed that Philip was aware of it too, his all-round ears flagging up. Well, I'll stop taking your ear off. It's nice to see you again, Mrs. Smith, even if the situation was an unfortunate one. I could feel the insides of my ears starting to burn from embarrassment. Yeah, I'll try not to swan dive off more cliffs. See that you don't. Your luck might not last forever. With his usual flair, he gave a short bow, flashing me a toothy grin before continuing his way down the sidewalk. Looked like he was headed for Yuka's coffee shop. Kinda wish I was too. I could use a warm cup right about now. Tarek was off in the distance, the edge of his snowmobile poking out the nearby snow-coated bushes that lined the side of the trade shop. He was gesturing for me and spotted me standing alone on the sidewalk. Guess it was time to go back. Could see a few cans of gasoline stacked up on the back of the snowmobile, most tying them securely into place. At least it wasn't entirely a bust. Thinking of the problems of going to those fabled hospitals floated to the forefront of my mind. A small smile started to form over my muzzle. It might not be more coffee, but a steaming dip would be the next best thing in my book. Trotting down the sidewalk, there was a renewed spring in my step as I jumped onto the seat that awaited me. I feel my back pop as I tried to lift one of the cans of gasoline, arms wobbling like jelly as I spread my stance. Do not lift with your back. Your legs. The bear nearby gestured, squatting down, his knees spread as an example. My eyes were fixated on the rounded pair of glutes that pushed out the back of his jeans. Those temple mounds became more prominent with his squat, jutting out the back in a way the denim failed to conceal. Chris, yes? Pay attention. This brought a big jerk, knowing precisely what I was distracted with. My face burned with embarrassment as I forced myself to tear my gaze up his rump and to the pose he had adopted. Turns out that lifting with my legs was significantly more manageable than trying to transform my spine to a 90-degree angle. I had to suffer my way awkwardly. Thanks to the additional weight, I held the bottom of the can between my legs as I trundled through the snow. The oversized sorrel beside me was walking with two cans under each arm as if they weighed nothing. God, he gave me another look as he passed, that scarred lip lifting just enough for a teaser's smile. Okay, he's definitely doing this on purpose now. I think he's picked up on my staring over the past few days. Yeah, guess I'm not as subtle as I think I am. By the time I got my first one down, Tomek was already hitting back for more. Jeez, don't you ever get tired? Those broad shoulders rose and fell as he carried the last can back into the set, propping it up neatly along with the rest. He scooped up the one can and had dropped as easily as if it were made of styrofoam. It had more than enough stamina. I started to question my sanity with that statement. Did he seriously throw another smirk at me? My fingers brushed over my bandages and into my hairline as I held my head. Do you still wish to visit the springs? The question caused me to throw my hair out of my hands as my eyes widened. Yes, please. His expression lit up, ears perking as his snackle tooth pulled out further in a smile. If I didn't know better, he looked like he was also anticipating the experience. Not that I could blame him after spending half a day in those dirty mines, and single cell felt insufficient. As reasonably clean as I was, it almost felt like the grind was still under my fur. Don't we need towels or swimming trunks? He chuckled softly, a deep rumble bubbling up from him. You do not wish to see me naked. I sputtered, nearly choking on my own saliva. How was I supposed to respond to that? It almost felt like a trick question. Is he fucking with me? I can't tell if he's teasing or just being obtuse like usual. He was already walking before I could answer the big bear heading out of his staring towards the woods. Wait, are we not taking the snowmobile? Fuel is limited. We will take the journey on foot. He stopped, turning on his heel, gesturing for me to follow. We will? Do not worry, I will kill you. I wanted to open my mouth to protest, but the bear brought up a large hand to silence me. You are injured. The doctor said as much. Everything was sore, but I'm pretty sure I could still walk. His expression softened as he regarded me. Please do not think less of yourself. Maybe he's right. I know I don't like to be a bother to others, but perhaps I can make an exception this time. Alright, I guess he can carry me. I said with a sigh. My response seemed to please Tyrant, the bear, smiling as he turned and lowered on his knee. Clambering onto his back, I wrapped my arms around his neck, my legs looping around his broad sides. He held me up, holding me securely by the thighs as he leaned forward, comfortable. I could feel the rumble of a voice shaking through him as he spoke. Yeah, this isn't as bad as I thought. See, it does not hurt to ask for help. Finally, considering who that statement was coming from. Maybe he was starting to change. Then again, we had been through a lot in our short time together. I have to wonder if you have an ulterior motive. Ulterior. He parroted, already setting off into the woods, the snow crunching under his boots as he hefted me higher on his back. You've been trying to carry me on your back since day one. He didn't respond, one of those brown ears flicking, telling me that he heard me at least. If I didn't know any better, I think you've been trying to find an excuse to hold me. I reveled in the chance to tease him, a satisfied smirk pulling across my muzzle. The bear grunted as he walked, broad shoulders bobbing with every step. Am I that obvious? I pondered the question, still grinning. I put my chin between his ears. You can be. It's kinda what makes you endearing. The bear chuckled as he shuffled me up a little higher, hiking my thighs up his broad sides. Well, you have given me an excuse. Now I wish to hold you, if you do not mind. It was cute how he was still a little hesitant. In the short time we've been intimate, he always dutifully checked up on me. It was more than what I was used to, and I was afraid I was starting to feel a little spoiled. Well, I did say it was fine. I reminded him with a squeeze, slipping my arms further around his thick neck. I could feel the muscles subtly shifting underneath the darker mane-like fur that wrapped around it. Snow-covered trees hung above us as we passed underneath. Golden sunlight filtered through the branches, casting long shadows across the frozen path. Being carried along was nice, but I could have walked. I'd been around Tarek long enough to know he could easily carry me. After I've seen enough heavy objects being hefted in those big arms. Are we getting close? Close enough. The bear answered with a chuckle. It wasn't the first time I had asked that question, though I hoped it would be the last. While we had passed through here a few times on his snowmobile, seeing it from a slower moving perspective was slightly different. He took steps off of the worn path, navigating us around the ancient growth as he pushed a few branches aside with a hand. I closed my eyes, ducking my head as cold snow flooded my hair. A quick flip tossed the worst of it away. Sorry, the springs are somewhat hidden. Does anyone else use them? Thomas remained silent momentarily, as if it was the first time he had considered the question. I do not know. I have not seen others. There's no path for furnishings. That's weird. A place like that would be a hit back in my hometown. He sort of shrugged indifferently, bobbing up and down and me along with him. At least he was picking up the pace. How he dodged around exposed roots and dropped branches made me wonder if he was as excited as me. Oh wow. I could already feel the heat before we walked through the entrance. The snow had melted on the front, giving us a smooth, stony walk straight to steaming water. The water was calling me. Tarmac wasn't prepared for the intense amount of desperate wiggling on his back. The bear stumbled on his feet as I managed to yank myself from his broken arms. My feet hit the ground, loose clapping on over the stone as I zoomed toward the steaming, pristine waters. Clothes came off, ugly in a veritable explosion. I barely got my underwear on my ankles before reaching the water's edge. Oh my God, it's nearly hot enough to make me lose my breath as I went under. Going from freezing air to a steaming spring was enough to scramble my brain. The water was pretty deep, more than I expected. It was shallow initially, but quickly sloped further I moved out. A whip of my water sent me propelling through the simply bubbling water like a torpedo. The rush of water through my fur was exhilarating, my trouble slipping away as I swam. Finally, back in my element. The water splashed off me, flying into the air as I bleached the surface. The droplets caught the light from above, sparkling around me, glittering in the haze of the wafting steam. I couldn't help but laugh, my voice echoing off the stone walls as I brushed some of my water-slick hair back. Tarak was watching from the ends of the pool. He didn't seem fazed with my answers at this point. But I wasn't as energetic. He pulled his clothes off, tossing them into a neat pile near the entrance. His breath didn't fade as he strolled along the edge of the pool, keeping his attention on me the entire time. My eyes widened as I saw him take his first step. Then another, and another, till it was full sprint. Tarak launched into the air, knees going up as he curled on himself. Like a living cannonball, he sailed through the air before plummeting straight down. Oh no. Water displaced violently, plunging along with the bear's body before springing back into the air. A circular wave rose from the impact site, water reaching high even above my head as it came rushing towards me, and left out a few squeaks of surprise before having the good sense to submerge. Even then, the wave carried me under the water, tugging me to the rocky shore. It splashed over the stone edges of the pool, hitting the rougher walls before falling back in and sloshing about. Countless decades, maybe even centuries of flowing water in this cavern had worn the stone in and around the pool smooth. Good thing too, or else my little ride to the side could have ended up with me dancing on a few sharp rocks. Shook my hands and popped back out of the water, getting the rust out of my hair as I let out a squeaking titter of a giggle. Didn't care about getting my bandages too soaked, considering I would have my stitches removed soon. A sharp intake of breath caught my attention. Tarak had surfaced, the bear rising from the cloudy water like a leviathan in the waves. His growling voice boomed in an outright roar of amusement, a wide grin splitting the polar bear's muzzle. I had shielded myself in my hands as Tarak spun, slinging the worst of the water off of him and seats. Hey, watch it, I said with a laugh, getting drenched all over again despite my best efforts to the contrary. Tarak leveled over to me, those heavy footsteps slogging under the water, a smut still plastered across his muzzle. One was ripped off of him, beads rolling down his heavily muscled frame. While his excess fur slipped down, I got a good look and how much bulk he was packing. It wasn't a new sight, but it wasn't about to get old anytime soon. The bear let out a long exhale as he turned, dropping into the steamy water, his arms splaying over the rocky edges of the bubbling bath. Do not blame me. He laughed, a deep rumbling sound sticking up his thick neck. I was only following your lead. He gestured, bobbing his head to the spot in the water next to him, the bear lifting his large arm invitingly. Naturally, I swam up to him. A few flicks of my tail enough to close the gap between us. My arm slid around his round stomach, face pressing to the side of his broad chest. His burly arm dropped around me, looping around my back to hold me in place. His fingers explored the small of my back, diving around my tail before slowly caressing my rear. They still went up my spine despite the warmth around us. A soft exhale blowing out my lips. It wasn't just the waters he was testing the bear, seeing what he could get away with in intimate company. And honestly, he could get away with a lot. Tarak was bordering on irresistibility. It took the brunt of my concentration to keep from climbing over him like a jungle gym. Yeah, well, you probably shouldn't do that. I finally responded, chuckling quietly as my hand slid from the water, tracing the rounded contour of his hefty midsection. What if you pick up bad habits? And if I do? His voice was a low rumble, his eyes setting as he leaned back in the water, content with his steaming soak. It will be my decision to make. His hand squeezed around my tail firmly, yet gently as his dense digits flexed. He exhaled softly after a moment, his overt enthusiasm seeming to slack as he turned to regard me. I want to apologize. Not coming off guard, my cheek lifting from his chest to get a better look at him. Before my outburst, he admitted quickly, embarrassed, painted across the bear's face, clearly uncomfortable with the topic. I should not have let anger get the better of me. All right, the thing between you and Yuka. Ask your bear. Yuka's words rang in the back of my head, causing me to chew my lower lip as I thought about him. I know it's not my business, but what's the deal between you and Yuka? His jawline clenched as his gaze quickly drifted away, seemingly conflicted. Both seemed to be avoiding each other like the plague, and Yuka is terrified of you. What happened? I might be opening up a can of worms with that question, but I was willing to take the risk. Tarak visited, his fingers playing along the small of my back and the base of my tail. Was he stalling? I have an idea. My wild ears perked up. How about we have a race? What? I certainly wasn't expecting to hear that. A race. The bear reiterated, his consternated expression replaced with budding amusement, to the end of the pool and back into the saddles. It was hard to grasp that someone like Tarak would want to do something so juvenile. And was surprised, he hummed thoughtfully, the sound turning out of him like the purr of an engine. If you win, I will tell you my history. His smirk grew, sea-twin gaze peering down at me. If I win, you will tell me more about your life. My life? Like what? As apprehensively, my tail suddenly curling around one of my legs under the water. Was to know more about your previous boyfriend. Now that was a saw. Daryl, why? Wouldn't understand what has driven you to my home. I mean, there were a lot of things Daryl was. Admitting it felt weird. The lump forming in my throat made speaking difficult. The big reason, I guess, it wasn't until he waved a thick finger at me, having pulled it from the stalks of water. Not yet. Not until I won. My face screwed up as I pulled away from his side, my hands incredulously going to my hips. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Do you forget that I'm an otter? I'm aware. I didn't trust the smile pulling across his muzzle. It was self-confident, as if he knew something I didn't. But what could he do in the water? He was just a big lumbering bear. So he could outsprint me easily on land, but I can't imagine he'd fare well without solid ground underneath those feet. Maybe it was unfair, but he's the one who dug his own grave. A grin spread over my muzzle as I puffed my chest out. Sure, but I'm not sure you know what you're getting into. His breath didn't waver as he got up from his seat, water cascading off his massive body. His breath around him caused the steam to rise in an intimidating plume. His thighs churned through the water as he moved to the shallow end, those glutes shifted, tufted tail sitting perfectly above those spheres. It was starting to dawn on me that maybe, just maybe, I might have made a mistake. He stood expectantly, his gaze fixed on me, silently beckoning me over. Softening through the water was a bit harder, considering I didn't have tree trunks for legs, but somehow I managed. Even though he only stood beside me, I felt utterly outclassed as his deep shadow fell over me. Ready. I could hear the smile in his voice even as he spoke. Before I could finish the sentence, the bear was already taking decisive steps. He dove into the water, putting his hands together as he launched forward. It wasn't so much as dive as it was his boat displaced the water away from him. I swam to dive as well, the wave that crashed into me nearly knocking me onto my feet. A few flicks of my tail allowed me to catch up with him and pull ahead as the cabin balls raced around me. It was hard to swim through heated water than I thought. Usually pools in school were kept at a lower temperature, acting like a natural heat sink. I could sense that Tarmac was on my heels, his boat moving quickly. But even with everything I got in me, he could still keep up. How the hell does he move with all that size? Is he actually swimming, or is he pushing water out of the way to shove himself forward? I didn't have time to consider the answer as the wild quickly approached. My death flip, my tail shot out of the water as I twisted my padded feet, found contact with smooth stone, toes curling. Like a bullet from the barrel of a gun, I blasted off of it, my thighs flexing like cross wings. I was ahead, but just barely. My heart thudded in my chest as my arms whipped in calculated arcs around me. Somebody put my all into the slow Tarmac was gaining on me. Using the last of my stamina, I punched ahead, defying the heated water as I finally came skating belly side over the pool's shallow end. I gasped, finally coming up for air. I rolled onto my back, coughing a few times as I got the worst of the water off of my face. Did I win? A woman laugh came from the water as Tarmac emerged, steaming water sloughing off his back. You did. How can you swim so fast? I am a polar bear. He wore a toothy smirk, his hands on his hips as he watched me. He was saving that to throw it back in my face in response to I'm an otter. I wasn't in deadness inside me forced me to sit up straighter, my arms priming behind me. With herself, I pushed my hands through the water surface in Tarmac's direction. The bear laughed, holding his sizable padded palm up defensively as a wave splashed against his front. It was like squirting a boulder with a water gun, utterly ineffective. It wasn't until he moved for a counterattack that I realized my mistake. A huge wave of water sailed in my direction, propelled by those massive limbs. It threatened to throw me to the other side of the pool, my rear sliding along the smooth stone. I caught some mineral-infused water getting into my mouth as it sloshed around me. Do not be a sore winner, he said smoothly, smirking from his position on the pool's edge. Oh, nah, I said with a sputter, still trying to get the excess water out of my lungs. Okay, so maybe I was. Swimming was one of the few things I was exceptional at, and that was simply because of my species. Having our ways cut so close was a little bruising to my ego. Tarek moved, the big bear dropping his rear over the stone edge before leaning back. It wasn't a bad idea. I could use a break from the heat as well. Swimming at full tilt didn't help much either. He rumbled softly as I joined him, a pleasant purr that seemed to radiate from deep in his throat. It seemed he had the same idea, keeping our contact light as steam rose from the bear's burly body. Still, I enjoyed his fingers grazing against my thigh as I followed my eyes to briefly close. It's been nice seeing this side of him, the more intimate Tarwak. I'm still slightly surprised he's capable. I would never have guessed during our first encounter he was downright icy. I'll owe you your reward. He seemed reluctant, as if he was forcibly forcing the words out of himself. You don't have to if it makes you uncomfortable. I leaned to his arm to reassure the bear, squeeze his thigh. Surprisingly, he shook his head. No, it is something that I should talk about. He turned his attention back to me, a frown crest across his muzzle. You are left with questions at 9. He seemed to sag, shoulders slumping forward as he draped his forearms over his knees. Struggling with his words, the bear's fingers rolled in thought as they flexed. If you do not understand what happened, you may misunderstand me. He was right. Seeing how angry he got into Yuka's face like that made me wonder if he would actually hit the wolf. It left me a little cell-socked, to be honest. I might, if it'll help, I said with a smile, give his arm a supportive squeeze. Tarek seemed to appreciate the gesture, his raw expression slacking. He closed his eyes before taking a deep breath, exhaling softly before speaking. Hey, so there was a tense moment between Tarwak and Yuka. These two definitely have a history together, and apparently something bad happened. Because I figured it would be bad even before I saw that scene, but it's even more obvious now. Yuka said that Tarwak betrayed him, and Tarwak got angry at that. So apparently both of them are mad at each other. There's something about Yuka that makes Tarwak angry, which is why he attacked Yuka. And I forgot her name already, but she got involved between the two of them and broke up the fight. I mean, we got several characters in this video today that kind of broke from their usual behavior when a situation warranted. I think it's Sarah, I guess. I forgot her name, but usually she's very happy and energetic and optimistic, but there was a moment when she got very stern and serious with Tarwak, let him know that she's not intimidated by him and that he should let Yuka go. You also got the doctor, who up until now has been a polite and professional doctor, always smiling. And for a few moments we got to see him really pissed at Chris for getting himself in danger by climbing up a mountain. Yeah, he was quite mad at him for a brief moment. You know, telling him that he didn't he didn't put these stitches on him just so he can fall off a mountain and get hurt or killed again. So we got to see different behavior from those two characters in this video. And that polar bear, the older polar bear that we ran into, I'm pretty sure that he's related to Tarwak. And now, just because they're the same species doesn't mean that they're necessarily related, but I'm pretty sure that man that we ran into, Dorak or Darak or something like that, his name is, I'm pretty sure he is Tarak's father. I think that's who he is. And that Chris, for some reason, wasn't aware of that. Or at least he wasn't aware that he could be Tarak's father. So in the next video, we'll be changing perspectives from Chris to Tarwak instead. We'll be experiencing everything from Tarak's perspective in the next video. So all the information for the game is in the description box below. Thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.